Welcome to another episode of Rockin' with Cam. I am your host, Kamrock, and today we are giving you a daily dose of violence. Me and Iceman here is going to review the 300 card, UFC 300, give you some predictions about what we think. Let's start. First fight of the night, Ice. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Let's look at some of the records here. What is Deiveson's record? Right now, Deiveson is 22 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. And Cody is 14 wins, 5 losses. What do you think? Give us your prediction. Who are you going with for this fight, man?
So, before I give my prediction, both these guys have faced nothing but the top level of competition. It's a tough one because I've always been a fan of Cody Garbrandt, and you know it's hard to see his kind of skid that he's going through past couple of fights. When I think about Cody, I always look back to the Dominic Cruz God performance that he had. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. And plus, how is Figgy gonna do at this weight class? This is his debut at 135.
Yeah, it is.
So will his power be the same? You know, he's definitely gonna have. You know, his cardio is gonna be there. He's not gonna fatigue. So you know, it's a tough fight. Cody looked really good in his last fight
against
Brian
Kelleher.
Kelleher.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yep. So,
and that was a round 1 knockout in 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
Yeah, he looked very good. He kind of showed signs of the vintage Cody.
So let me ask, right? With Cody Garbrandt, that was a fighter that everybody was so excited for, right?
Yep.
What do you think happened, or what was his downfall from his hype to where he got to now? Don't get me wrong, he's still very top level, very up there in the food chain, but a guy like that, people were thinking was going to be champion for quite a long time, but
myself included.
Yeah.
So I think that his downfall was he likes the firefight a little bit too much, and you know, when a lot of times when he would get rocked in his fights, like with TJ, I believe he fought Rob Font, and he would get rocked, and instead of like recovering and moving and using his footwork, he would just try to land another punch to kind of even the score, and that's where he would run into shots and get KO'd and lose the fight.
You think just his defenses weren't tight enough to and he was getting caught a lot?
His defense wasn't tight enough, and I believe that his ego played a part.
Yeah.
When you look at his fights that he's had stellar performances in, even his last fight with Kelleher, he got hurt a little bit, you know, didn't check a couple leg kicks, and he didn't rush in. He kind of stayed composed, he stayed patient, and let the knockout happen, you know.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about Deiveson Figueiredo. His last fight was against Rob Font, and that was a decision win over 3 rounds, right? I think Deiveson looked great in that fight. I think his power was there. Like I really like him because I think he's an undervalued champion.
Most definitely.
Because his skill set is like, he has everything. He has great wrestling, he has great hands, great defenses. Like, honestly, in this fight, I really love Cody Garbrandt, but my final decision is going to be Deiveson Figueiredo by knockout against Cody, because just based on the things that you had said about Cody just leaving his chin out there, letting his ego, where I feel like Deiveson Figueiredo, he will stick to the game plan and break you down over the 3 rounds.
That is true. But I'm gonna go with my heart, and I'm gonna say Cody.
Cody, all right. Let's go to okay, by the way, people, this is the first fight of the night. That's insane. All right, let's go to the next lightweight bout. So we have Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Ooh, they got Bobby No, I was about to say. Yeah, wait, they got Bobby Green as a favorite, -205.
I think he's faced better competition as of late. I think that's why.
Than Jim?
Than Jim, yes.
That makes sense. All right, let's take a look at Bobby's record real quick. Bobby is... What is his record? Let's see. Prelims. Bobby is 31 wins, 15 losses, 1 no contest. Jim Miller, the most fight in the UFC, right? He officially has the record. 37 wins, 17 losses. Right. So before we even go into this, right? As a fighter, because this is something that I aspire to be. This is something that I am working towards to become a fighter. When you get to like 10 losses, like these guys, like, do you think there was a point in time that they're thinking about like maybe I shouldn't do this anymore, man? Because they fought over 40 times each, over 50 fights each, and like, is there a time where you think that they thought about quitting?
So when you look at the 10 losses, when you look at the losses like that, you got to think about it. Those 10 losses didn't come in a row. Yeah. You know, they came in spurts. You know, it depends on how you lose. It depends on if you're losing the same way consistently. You know, like if you're chinny, you know, like if you're just getting knocked out on all your losses, then yeah, it might be time to hang it up. But if you're losing decisions, and again, these are UFC fighters, they're going against the best fighters in the world. Yeah. So like a loss here doesn't really mean it's over. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like boxing, where boxing you have to hold on to your undefeated record, things like that. Like, you know, it's
more real. That's the reason why I love MMA so much more than boxing. It's like it's just killers going against killers, and that is it. Like,
and then can we just talk about how fucking Jim Miller is like aging like wine? Like he's just now he's knocking dudes out. He's like, you know, back, you know, I followed Jim Miller since he came onto the UFC, and before he was just like a submission guy. He had striking, but you know, he was more of a submission guy, and I liked his style because his style was like, you know, like I look at like Charles Oliveira, and Charles is like very smooth with his submissions. Jim Miller's like very forceful with a submission. Like he's gonna get it. Like, you're gonna give me this arm, you're gonna give me this leg, and he was just tenacious with it. And now he's like knocking dudes out, you know. And granted, I don't feel like he's faced the same level of competition as of late like Bobby Green has. Bobby Green's been in there with Islam.
Speaking of competition, right? Let's look at his last 2 fights. His last 2 fights for Bobby was what a beautiful knockout. I was watching that fight, and that was insane. Round 1 KO, 33 seconds, and 33 seconds left. That was a beautiful strike, a great win for Bobby, which he ended up facing Jalin Turner. Not too long after. He fought in October, and then he fought in December. That was a quick turnaround, which obviously he took no damage in the fight against Grant Dawson, but that was where he had that horrific knockout against Jalin Turner, where the referee just wasn't stopping the fight. I was so upset when I saw that, man. I was screaming at the TV like, please, like, stop this, and it was bad. But anyways, Bobby Green coming off a loss, and let's look at for
I think Jim Miller's got like 2 wins in a row.
Jim Miller, let's see what his last recent streaks are. Jim Miller's 40, by the way, people. 40 years old, knocking people out like it's nothing. His last fight was a submission win in round 3 against Gabriel Benitez. Is that how you pronounce his name? Benitez. And prior to that was another win, another knockout win in round 1 against Jess Butler. So as of right now, it seems like Jim Miller has the momentum on his side. But still, man, against these 2 long, tough veterans, who do you pick for this one?
So I think the striking is pretty even. I guess if you would give a little bit of an advantage, I would give it to Bobby Green on the striking, because I think that Bobby Green's a little bit more smooth and defensively a little bit more sound. But I think the big difference in this fight is going to be the ground game, the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling. Hands down, that's Jim Miller. I think Jim Miller wins this fight.
All right, and my pick is going to be Jim Miller as well. And similar to what you're saying, I feel like the game plan for Jim Miller, especially entering 40 years of age, is to try to minimize the damage he was going to take on the feet and get this fight to the ground, because Bobby definitely has some submission wins. I've seen a couple, but he's not known for his ground game and stuff like that. So I think here the game plan favors Jim Miller. So in contrast to what the odds are saying, I am going with Jim Miller for this fight.
Yeah.
But I really do love Bobby, though. Bobby, I love you.
Oh,
You're,
yeah, for sure.
Like,
Legend.
You're legend. All right, let's go to the women's strawweight bout. We got the monster, Jéssica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Talk to me with this one, Ice.
I mean, it's Andrade. Every time you see an Andrade fight, she reminds me of like a female Vanderlei Silva. Just coming forward, throwing hooks. Super strong. I mean, former champion, slam rose on her neck, like, so she's a favorite, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, she's actually, it's pretty even. Like the odds they're both -10, minus
very
minus
shocking.
110.
Yeah.
That's crazy because I would think that Jéssica is the favorite in this matchup. Well, let's look at their last records and see what the sports makers have in mind. Let's see. Jéssica Andrade, her recent fight was a knockout against Mackenzie Dern.
Yep. I saw that
Mackenzie
fight.
Dern that was a great fight too.
Yeah.
Prior to that, she had suffered a submission loss to Tatiana Suarez. So she's coming off a one win.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take a look at Marina Rodriguez, see how she's been doing lately. So her last fight was a knockout win in round 2 against Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie.
Mm-hmm.
I love that name. And prior to that, she also had suffered a loss. It was a decision against Verena Jandiroba. But so yeah, they're both coming off a win. I don't really know so much on Marina's like fighting style because I haven't spent a lot of time watching her, but I do know every single time Jéssica gets in there, she comes out swinging, powerful. She also has great wrestling as well. That's one thing I really like about her style. So just for me, I am gonna have to go with Jéssica on this one. What about you, Ice?
I think Jéssica too. I think what's gonna make the difference is the power. Jéssica Andrade hits really hard, and she's physically strong, especially for that division. So should be good.
All right, let's move in. Oh my God, these fights are so good. Next up is the lightweight bout. We got number 10 ranked Jalin Turner versus number 13 Renato Moicano. Renato want money, baby. Talk to me, Ice.
Man, like this fight is a toss up. I can't. I'm not sure if I'm not sure who I'm gonna pick. Let's see the records.
Let's see the records. Right now, Jalin Turner is standing at 14 wins and 7 losses. Moicano is 18 wins and 5 losses. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Moicano is not way older, but he's 34 while Jalin is 28.
Yeah.
So right, the biggest thing for me about this fight is the reach advantage. Jalin Turner has a 77-inch reach while Renato has a 72-inch reach. I think Jalin, based on his recent performances, he's been working like his range very good. Especially with like the setups, like kicks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that Moicano is gonna have a really hard time trying to get in the pocket with Jalin, and if Jalin does a good job of keeping him on the outside, he has knockout power to where he can. I really do believe that he could put Moicano out. So for this fight, I think I'm gonna go with Jalin.
I think so too. I think especially Jalin being 28 years old, getting into his prime, really seems like he's really finding himself in his last few fights. So I'm leaning towards Jalin, but I wouldn't be surprised if Moicano pulls out some veteran stuff and shows him why he's still around.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next up. Woo! Featherweight bout. We have the Nigerian Sodiq Yusuff versus the Brazilian Diego Lopes.
You're going for the Nigerian, aren't you?
No, I don't know, man. Let's take a look before I make a prediction. Right, Sodiq Yusuff. He is 30 years old, while Diego's 29. He has a 71-inch reach, while Diego is standing at a 72.5-inch reach. The records, Usyk is 13-3, while Diego is 23-6. So overall, Diego has way more experience, despite being a year younger in the cage than Sodiq does. But let's look at some of the recent opponents that they fought against. What a fight. Sodiq Yusuff's last fight was lost to Edson Barbosa, and that fight was insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I think in the first 2 rounds, he was pouring it on Barbosa, man, and he looked fantastic. His boxing looked great. His wrestling also looked great. But yeah, man, at the end, Edson Barbosa showed why he's been the top dog for such a long time, with that beautiful head kick that had him stumbling. So right now, Sodiq is coming off a loss. Let's see. And I think Diego is coming off a win in his last fight, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Diego Lopes, his recent opponent was... why is it not? His recent opponent was Pat Sabatini, and that was a round 1 knockout for Diego. So he's coming off a 2-fight win streak. The fight before that against Gavin Tucker was a round 1 submission. So as of right now, momentum is obviously, momentum and experience is weighing on Diego's side, but the odds makers do have Diego as the favorite in this fight. So give me your thoughts, Ice.
So my first, so what put me onto Diego was, he's Alexa Grasso's jiu-jitsu coach, for one. So his jiu-jitsu is already legit. I saw his second to last fight that he had with the submission. He looked really good, but then in his last fight that he got the knockout in, very surprised with his hands. He showed a lot of aggressiveness, but also like he was composed, and I just feel like he brings that coaching mindset into the fight as well. Like he's gonna be composed, he's gonna stick to a game plan, and his jiu-jitsu's up there. So I think it's gonna give Yusuff problems. I think that Yusuff is going to be very dangerous in the first round, but I think if it goes past the first round, I think Diego will win.
Right. So as a fan, I want Sodiq Yusuff to win, but if I'm betting money, everything points to Diego. The experience, the momentum as well is weighing on his side, and like you were saying, if the fight goes into the later rounds, as we did see Sodiq like slow down a little bit towards the end in his last fight, I will have to pick Diego there. So as a fan, Usyk, but as a betting man, Diego for me on this fight. All right, let's look at the next one. We have the women's bantamweight. Holly Holmes versus Kayla Harrison. I don't really know much about Kayla Harrison. I don't know if you do.
Yeah,
so
she's a judo medalist. I believe she has golds.
Let's see. We could pull it up and actually look. This is why I love this. She's let's talk about records here. Kayla Harrison is 16 wins and 1 loss. She is also 33 years old, while Holly Holmes is standing at 15 wins, 6 losses, and she is 42 years old. So a huge gap in the age. Obviously, we know as a fighter towards past like 35 or so, it starts catching up with the body. So as of right now, youth is on Kayla Harrison's side as well as the records. But yeah, let's look at some of Kayla's accomplishments. So she is a Olympic and world champion in judoka. And what else? Yeah, so her background is in judo. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I remember years ago when she first started MMA that they were trying to get her to fight Ronda Rousey. That was the big thing. But and then there was talks about her also fighting Amanda Nunes. But I love Holly Holm. Everybody loves Holly Holm. But if we can be realistic about this, Holly Holm is the Buster Douglas of MMA. Like, you know, like great person, great striker.
Everybody loves him.
Everybody loves her. You know, everybody loves her. But she beat Ronda Rousey and then hasn't really done anything since. Like, you know, I mean, she knocked out Bethe Correia. She had a close fight with Jermaine Durandamy. But, you know, I'm going with Kayla.
Yeah, I don't know much about Kayla, but youth and history is on her side. So as a betting man, I will have to go for Killer Harrison on this one. But good luck to you, Holly. Let's featherweight bout. We have the number 8 ranked Calvin Kattar versus the number 2 ranked Aljamain Sterling. What a fight this is going to be.
What a test.
Talk to me, Ice. So, what you think?
This is the perfect fight to see if Aljamain really belongs in this weight class. He's moving up in weight, 145. He was, of course, the 135 champion. Got knocked out by Sean O'Malley.
Sugar Sean O'Malley.
But, you know, like, Calvin Kattar is a good test. You know, he's tough. He's going to be tough to finish. And he's a solid 145er. So is Aljamain's grappling going to be enough, you know? I think striking, Calvin Kattar has an edge, but Aljamain's arms, man, they're really long, good at the clinch, good at getting takedowns, good at getting people's back. So I have to go with the Funk Master.
Speaking of arms, he actually has 1 less inch reach advantage than Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar has 72-inch reach, and Aljamain has 71. Oh
my God, I gotta see.
Age-wise, Calvin Kattar is 36 and Aljamain is 34, so Aljamain is a little bit younger. Height-wise, Aljamain is 5'6"? No way.
Wow, he looks taller.
Bro, he looks huge.
Yeah, he looks real.
5'6" is my height.
Yeah,
basically.
I think it's the way his body is. He's just really lean.
He's built very like inwards, and it looks super long.
Yeah,
but that's crazy. That's something I didn't know. Record wise, Calvin Kattar is 23-7, while Aljamain is 23-4. So in terms of experience, they've both been in there for similarly around the same time in the octagon.
Can't be champion mindset though.
And exactly, that's one thing that we'll say. A lot of people will argue that Aljamain is or was the GOAT at 135. And and he showed it in a lot of his title defenses, coming back for that second Peter Yan fight. He looked amazing. He shut all the doubters up. He fought Cejudo, which dominated that. And he also fought, what was his name? TJ.
Yep.
Some people might say the arm thing about TJ, the shoulder, but who cares at the end of the day?
Fuck TJ. He's a cheater. He got what he deserved. I'm giving Aljamain all the credit on that one.
All right. So, in terms of for my pick for this fight, I will have to go with. I think it's a toss up, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Aljamain, just more so betting on the championship mindset, as well as his part of his camps. Being with Marab, another guy who's either should be fighting for the title or will be fighting for the title next. So I think the championship mindset, as you talked about, is heavy in that gym, that locker room. So I think he's riding high in confidence. So I am going with Aljamain Sterling for the winner on this fight. But even at the odds, 112 and minus 108. So it's looking pretty similar. But I'm going Aljamain, and so are you, right?
Yep, Aljamain.
All right, moving on next to the light heavyweight bout, we have number 2 Jiří Procházka versus number 5 Aleksandar Rakić. So, they have Aleksandar Rakić as the favorite for this fight. Talk to me, Ice. What do you think?
I mean, I don't really know much about Procházka's opponent, so I can't speak to him. I will say though that Jiří is a madman, and I think he's gonna make it gritty. He's just in your face all the time. He brings again that warrior mindset and that champion mindset. His fight with Glover Teixeira was an amazing fight. Showed a lot of heart, and it's gonna be hard to put away unless you're Alex.
So I've been seeing a lot of tweets about this fight, right? And the people online on Twitter and the MMA community is saying how Jiří Procházka, he's not as good as people think he is, because in all of his fights in the UFC, he's been close to being stopped multiple times in all of those fights. And one of the things that people were saying, like defensively, how he trains, he doesn't keep his guard up.
Yeah.
You know? So but nonetheless, let's look at the tail of the tape here. Jiří is 29 wins and 4 losses, while Aleksandar Rakić is 13 wins and 3 losses. Jiří is 31. Rakić is 32. They're sitting at 6-2 and 6-3. There's some big motherfuckers.
So I mean, like, and also to that point that you brought up, I think that Jiří, at the end of his career, he's gonna get knocked out a lot. He's gonna have a sad end to his career, but the end of his career is not now. So I mean, for now, he's just gonna keep coming forward, and you know, he might get rocked in this fight. He probably will get rocked in this fight, but he finds a way to win. So he's like the Korean Zombie, you know.
Let's look at Rocket's last 2 fights. In 2021, he fought against Thiago Santos, which was a round 3 decision win for him. And 2022, he suffered a knockout loss to Jan Blachowicz in round 3. So he's fought some high level guys as well.
Yeah.
So let's look at Jiří's last few opponents.
It was Alex Pereira.
Alex Pereira, he suffered that loss, that knockout loss, which I just want to say that was not an early stoppage.
No.
You could clearly see in the footage when he was breaking down.
Yeah.
His arms literally went limp, and so I think the referee did a great job on that one.
Yeah, when the fighter himself says that was not an early stoppage.
Yeah.
You know?
So but anyways, prior to that, it was his win against Glover Teixeira for his submission. That's when he won his belt, right?
Yep.
And before that, in 2021, he fought that spinning elbow against
spinning
Dominic
elbow again,
Reyes.
yep.
That was a beautiful spinning elbow as well. So overall, I don't know. I think I will have to go with Jiří, just because he just recently fought for the title twice in his last 2 fights. I think, like you were saying, the thing about that championship mindset, once you know you're right there, you almost had it. I think there is a more burning urge and desire to get that back.
And then we might see a better version of him, because the last fight he was coming off an injury.
Yeah. And on top of that, you know, he could always like learn from his last 2 fights.
Yeah.
I love the way he strikes. I love the way he moves, even though it's so unorthodox and weird. I love watching him. He's a great entertainer.
Yeah.
So for me, I am picking Jiří on this fight.
Me too.
All right, let's move on to the middleweight bout. Bo Nickal, the Phenom, versus Cody Brundage. Talk to me, Ice.
I mean, when you talk about this fight, you talk about all Bo Nickal, you know. He's got that Penn State wrestling. I would say it's getting close to elite striking. You know, his striking is very, very good. So, I mean, I think Bo Nickal just runs right through this guy. I wouldn't be surprised if it's another first round finish.
All right, let's look at tail of the tape. Bo Nickal 5-0 in his UFC career, while Cody Brundage is 10-5. Bo is 28, Cody is 29. They're both standing at 6'1" and 6 feet. 76-inch reach for Bo and 72-inch reach for Cody. We know Bo's last fight was a beautiful knockout against that dude who stepped in. I forgot his name, but he stepped in on short notice. Yeah. But nonetheless, you know, the way that Bo surprised everybody in that fight, because you know, everybody always talks about Bo's wrestling, but in that fight, he didn't even try once, man. Yeah. He just let the hands go, and the rest was history. So let's look at Cody, because I don't really know much about his career. He's coming off 2 wins, actually. He beat Zachary Reese in round 1 knockout, and prior to that, he beat Jacob Malcolm.
Nice.
And, that was a disqualification. I don't remember what that one was, but anyways, For me, I think look at the odds. Minus 1350 for Bo Nickal and a plus 800 for Cody. Anybody who bets on Cody, maybe like $5 or $10 is going home happy if he does pull out the win.
If he does win, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go with the phenom Bo Nickal.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
just of hype, honestly, for me. I don't know about you.
I mean, like he's, they're doing the right thing with him. They're just feeding him low-level fighters. So
yeah. Let's move next to the lightweight bout. We have Charles Oliveira,
the Bronx,
number 1 ranked,
the Bronx,
and we have number 4 ranked Arman Tsarukyan.
the Bronx.
I have a hard time pronouncing his last name.
You don't need his last name. You just need the Bronx. That's all
Bronx?
You gotta say. The Bronx.
Okay, let's wait before we go anywhere. Let's look at the odds here. They have Arman as a minus 205 favorite.
Charles is never the favorite in any of his fights.
But man, I can't say how much I love Charles Oliveira. Like that dude, from his story to his like accomplishments, his achievements, just the way he carries himself as a martial artist. Me starting my martial arts journey now. If there's anybody I look up to, man, it's a guy like him. It's so respectful. He brings so much respect to the sport, so much respect to the athletes, and he never really talks like he doesn't do the dirty talking. Doesn't do any of that, man. He just comes out there, puts another line every time, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean he's just amazing, an amazing athlete, amazing story. The transformation that he made. When his daughter was born, I believe he has a daughter.
Yeah.
It's either a daughter. Yeah. When his child was born, he just made a 180 change and became a champion. And he I got it first round.
First round, Charles.
Yep.
All right. Tell of the tape. Charles has 34 wins and 9 losses, while Arman is standing at 21 wins and 3 losses. Age-wise, Arman's 27, Charles 34. They're 5'6" for Arman and 5'8" for Charles. So Charles does have the height and reach advantage here in this fight. I'm just going with Charles because the champ has a name, baby. The champ has a name. That's Charles Oliveira.
Islam will beg to differ.
Yeah, I know. But, oh, man. I'm so excited. All right, moving next to the lightweight bout. We have Justin, the highlight Gaethje versus Max Blessed Holloway. Number 2 versus number 2. Max moving up away from this fight, right?
Yep.
So
for the BMF title.
Yeah. Minus 238 favorite for Justin Gaethje in this fight and plus 195 for Max Holloway. Talk to me. How do you see this fight playing out, man? I just see straight violence.
The best is not gonna be blessed.
Ooh.
That's that. I was talking to somebody about this morning, and I feel like Max is gonna land his shots. He's gonna be vintage Max, but I feel like Justin Gaethje is just going to hit a lot harder. He's going to do more damage. I don't know if he'll finish Max. Probably won't finish Max, but you never know. But I feel like Max, I feel like he'll just be landing the harder shots. That's how I see it.
Out of everybody Max has fought, if there's anybody who I will say has a chance to put him out, based on the recent history, is Justin, the highlight Gaethje, man. But I've been watching like a lot of Max fights. His output is insane. His footwork is so great. His setups are amazing.
Yeah.
But I think just straight down to the nitty gritty of it is Justin is just a fighter, bro. And he comes out hitting hard, especially in the late rounds as well. It seems like his power never diminishes.
Yeah.
It's like he can hit at the same power in round 1 as round 5. So yeah, man, I am going with Justin Gaethje on this fight.
And especially he's been more technical lately.
Yeah.
I mean, even you think back to the Tony fight, he just outclassed Tony. He wasn't even really throwing at 100%. Even his coach.
Not even just that. We're talking about Dustin Poirier fight, man.
Yeah.
Pulling out the head kick.
Yeah.
That was unforeseen by anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Justin. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going with Justin.
Justin for this fight. Next is the women's strawweight title bout. We have the champ, Zhang Weili versus I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Xiaonan.
I think so.
Xiaonan.
Better
Yang
than me.
Xiaonan. But both Chinese female fighters. We have the champ versus number one. I can't imagine how excited China is for this fight.
Yeah.
All the MMA fans of China must be raving for this fight because either way is a win-win for them, you know?
Yeah.
So, but let's look at their history. We have the record for Weili is 24-3, while Yan is sitting at 17-3. So both of these females has spent a lot of time in the octagon. Both at the same age, height 5'3" and 5'4", and reach is exactly the same. So I don't know, bro. I think this one might be a toss-up, but I am going with Zhang Weili on this fight just because, like you said, that championship mindset, that championship experience is weighing on her side.
I think that again, like Zhang Weili has that factor like that Andrade has in terms of she's just so strong, so physically strong, but also her striking is very good and she's very technical, and her jiu-jitsu is amazing. Like even what she did to Carla Esparza, you know, like Carla Esparza's a grappler herself. She stuffed the takedown and ended up getting a choke from the crucifix, which you don't really see that in MMA.
Yeah. Can you fix her neck a little bit? You could pull it a little bit towards you. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know, I feel like she should win. I'm going with Zhang.
Yep. All right. The final fight of the night is the light heavyweight bout versus Alex Pereira, the CT native. For those of you who don't know, Alex Pereira trains in Danbury, Connecticut. So Connecticut, you have a champion, while most of you don't even realize. Anyways, versus the number one ranked Jamahal Hill. I think my opinions on this fight is probably contrary to what a lot of people believe. Before we even review anything, I just want to say, Alex Pereira, I love you. Like, you're such a great fighter, and I love watching you fight. But my gut tells me Jamahal Hill comes out with the victory, actually by knockout in this fight, Ice. What do you have?
That is a bold prediction.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of layers to this fight. First off, I feel like one thing is it's going to be a striking match. I don't see any one of these two going for a takedown. And I just feel like when you go against a high-level striker like Alex Pereira, who's been with the best of the best in terms of just kickboxing alone, I feel like if you stand up with him and you don't even show a threat of anything else, that he knows that he's going to just be a stand-up fight, I feel like you're going into his wheelhouse. I feel like that's a bad mistake. He has too many weapons. Everybody always talks about the left hook. The left hook is great. He also has a nice right hand. He also has a very underrated calf kick, extremely underrated.
I don't think it's underrated.
I think that because nobody talks about it. Everybody
always talks about his calf kicks.
But like, I don't know, like I just feel like, and then also too, like not just his calf kicks, his kicks in general.
Yeah,
like, you know, he's I mean, his UFC debut, he knocked somebody out with a flying knee.
Yep.
You know, he's knocked a few people out in a Glory with head kicks. I just feel like the longer it stays standing up, the more Alex Pereira's gonna find that opening, and I don't know if he'll rock Jamahal Hill. I think Jamahal Hill is very tough. I think it's gonna be a hard fight for both, but I just feel like Jamahal Hill is you know, there's levels, and I feel like he'll find that out.
Right.
You know.
So let's look at the tell of the tape here. Alex Pereira has 9 wins, 2 losses, while Jamahal has 12 wins, 1 loss, and 1 no contest. Alex is a little bit older, 36, while Jamahal is 32. They're both at the same height, and as well as the same in reach. So it's pretty even on the feet and on the paper. But yeah, man, the reason why I'm going for Jamahal Hill is because I do see that Alex Pereira keep his hands down a lot, especially as part of his striking style. You know, he does a lot of shoulder rolls and things like that. But I just feel like Jamahal hits way too hard, to where I feel like he should get the victory in that one. So yeah, my prediction is knockout Jamahal Hill.
So, one other thought. Also, Jan has taken punches from Jan Blachowicz. But if I was Jamal's coach, I definitely would tell him to at least clinch and at least go for a takedown, even if you don't get it, even if you do it kind of like halfway, just to give him a threat of that. Because I do believe Jamal's striking is it is at an elite level. I will say that. And then he has a really nice. What I was very impressed with when he fought Glover was his back kick. Like,
yes,
his back kick was
so
super fast.
No telegraph, nothing.
I mean,
it just comes up.
Yep,
straight to the head.
That is a weapon. But then again, Alex Pereira trains with Glover Teixeira, so he can, I'm sure Glover's saying, that kick hurt, you know, and I'm sure he's giving him good training partners for that, So, it's definitely an interesting fight. I give Alex Pereira an advantage, but I'm going with Alex Pereira 100%. But if you told me that Jamahal Hill wins, I wouldn't be surprised at it, Both of these guys are champions. Both, even though John Jones vacated that title, both of these guys should look at themselves like real champions. And I think it's going to be a great fight.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I think this. What do you rate this card from 1 to 10? This is like a 10 for me.
It's hard to rate it because none of the fights happened yet.
But I think on paper
would have to be a 10.
This is a straight 10.
Would have to be a 10. And they pull out all the stops for the big numbers.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching a daily dose of violence here on Rockin' with Cam, and we'll see you next time. Peace.